This is the latest, First Edition, with Angela Cox.
Good evening and welcome. A family's prayers have been answered tonight. 3-year-old autistic boy AJ El-Falak is safe and sound in the care of his mum and hospital staff after a 3-night ordeal. This was the first sighting of AJ finally found in bushland just 470 metres from the family home in the New South Wales Hunter region, drinking water from a creek. We don't yet know if he just wandered off or was abducted and returned, but as you can imagine, his loved ones were overwhelmed with emotion after learning he was okay. Here is how it unfolded.
Stand by, steady. I've got the boy. I just got to get obs on the...
Get on the siren, get on the PA and tell them.
I'm just going to get on the PA and try and guide the SES crew in.
AJ! AJ, look at him, Mummy! AJ! Good boy, Mummy! We got him, Kelly. We got you here.
Yeah. Put your legs up there, dear.
Such an incredible story, and Tom Hartley has been in Putty with the family over the past few days and joins me now. Tom, what a relief for AJ's relatives and all of those people involved in the search.
Oh, Ange, relief is an understatement. I think for a lot of them, they certainly weren't expecting this outcome. They were certainly hoping for it, but not everyone was expecting this to be the case. I mean, 4 long, excruciating days, 3 very, very long, cold nights as well. Some of those rainy temperatures down to 10 degrees. I mean, we saw that land there around the family property, that huge family property. It's no place for a 3-year-old boy to be wandering around, for him to be lost, and for him to be found where and how he was. That creek, that stream that he was in, drinking that water with those incredible pics from the pole there, a police helicopter spotting him down there. That was only about 450 metres from his front door. Could you believe it was that close? It was an area that the family and the SES, several people had searched that time and time again over the course of that 4-day search, but for whatever reason it was just then at that right time, pretty much on the exact 4-day mark of the moment that he was reported missing, that little AJ was spotted again. And a remarkable thing, and as well, that we haven't really talked too much about is that the chance of this actually working out the way it did, that Pole Air helicopter, those very sharp, those men with those very sharp eyes actually spotted AJ just on their way. They were about to leave the search ground. They were about to go back to base to refuel. So 3 minutes later, if they'd made that call earlier, maybe AJ wouldn't have been spotted at all. So it was the Pole Air first, and then the SES, and then the family came in, and just that sheer elation that we witnessed today. It was just something that is truly unique, a truly unique experience. It gave everyone their goosebumps. You know, the family were crying. You've seen that reaction from the mum, Kelly, when she found out. She hit the floor, she fainted. I mean, the emotion that overcame her and everyone there, it was absolutely palpable. It was an incredible story to be part of, an incredible story to tell, and certainly so many twists and turns in it. We really didn't expect this outcome, or at least so soon, but it was certainly a wholesome outcome. And we spoke with several family members today. Anthony, AJ's father, spoke with us on his way out after being reunited with his son, with his other 3 sons. I mean, they were all so excited. Let's have a listen to a bit of what they all had to say.
I've been in the bush for 4 days, no sleep, night and day, as you've seen us. We didn't stop. He's clinging. As soon as he heard his mum's name, he opened his eyes, looked at her, and fell asleep.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thanks God. First, thanks God. Yes. Thank you, whoever pray for us.
Thank you to every single person involved. I can't thank you enough. You have no idea. This has been a living nightmare for us. We haven't eaten, we haven't slept. Thank you to every Australian that was praying, because miracles do come true.
Oh, well, at least we can sleep properly tonight. I thought we weren't going to see him again, to tell you the truth. I thank God, man. God answered our prayers, eh?
Tom, like you said, just so emotional. You get goosebumps. What are you hearing about how little AJ is doing tonight?
Well, the latest I've heard from the family is that AJ's doing very well. He's at Maitland Hospital with his mum. That inseparable duo has been reunited. I mean, how good was that to see those pictures there? Those two are together at hospital. AJ's under observation at the moment. He's obviously very weak still, but he is very healthy at the same time, considering what he's been through. We were told that he had 3 pieces of pizza and a banana before falling asleep in his mum's arms. There he was looking really relaxed and healthy, so healthy enough to be taken to hospital in an ambulance rather than being flown out. So that's always a good sign there. The family said that AJ is fine. They're thankful to everyone, to the community, especially the authorities and those emergency services who are involved in this extremely well coordinated search. So I mean ultimately they're back there at the home in Putty. They're celebrating well into the night, we're told, so we can expect probably to hear a bit more from this family, I'm sure, about what's next for them and for little AJ.
OK, thanks so much. Tom Hartley reporting there. Let's bring in senior police reporter Robert Avadia. Rob, this was the best outcome for everyone, but there are plenty of loose ends still for detectives to tie up tonight.
Lots of loose ends. I mean, the investigation in terms of finding AJ is the highest priority is done. But as you say, many loose ends. This is a really strange story. It has always been strange. And the best result happened today. But there are still some things to look for at the moment. Not the least of which is how he could be found in such good condition after so many nights in cold, hard, rugged terrain. The fact that thermal imaging from the police helicopter across 3 consecutive nights did not locate him so close to home. There are questions the police want to ask of the family as well as to why it took them a couple of hours to mention this mysterious white ute that they found. But that is not to suggest there is any suspicion on the family at all. It's just strange, Ange. There are things that police need to look at in terms of victimology, whether somebody would target the family or not, whether there is a reason. We do know that there are historic bikie links for AJ's father. Now, that is not to suggest any wrongdoing now, but it's a line that police cannot possibly ignore, going down the path of whether somebody wanted to put pressure on the family, and AJ was the byproduct of that. So many things still to look at, but for the moment, police are treating this as nothing more than a missing persons case. There is no evidence anywhere to suggest this isn't just misadventure, and it is exactly how it's played out. The little boy wandered off into the bush and it was miraculously found 4 days later.
Obviously established an investigation in conjunction with our search operation. That investigation will continue and follow up to ensure that we've covered off on everything we can to understand what occurred over the past 3 days.
So, as you say, Rob, AJ's where he should be, in hospital, back with his family. Do you think this will be an ongoing investigation?
I think it has to be, and to show the level of seriousness that with which police have thrown their resources. I know there is a homicide inspector that has been up there for a couple of days now, so those things aren't treated lightly. It's not just the things that you see out in the open, the searches we've seen with the police and SES over the past few days, Polair up above, but it is what is being done in the background too. So despite the happy result, there is nothing to say that this hasn't been something sinister, that AJ was perhaps abducted. That is certainly a line that the family has been pursuing ever since he went missing. They have assumed that he must have been kidnapped. Now, nothing to say that that is the case, but when a 3-year-old boy potentially has been kidnapped, that is something police have to take very, very seriously, and they will continue to look into that. One difficulty, of course, is that AJ himself is only 3 years old. He can't speak, so getting information from the boy himself will be obviously very, very difficult.
Indeed. OK, Robert Avadia in Sydney for us. Thank you. Professor Robin Young is an autism expert from Flinders University. She joins us now from Adelaide. Professor, are there aspects of being autistic that can make a child like AJ more resilient? Because we're all sitting here thinking it's incredible that he lasted so long out on his own for days.
Look, it's an amazing story, and part of it might just be who AJ is and his personality, but some of it might be his personality characteristics and part of it being autism and being autistic. So, for example, he might have been quite content on his own. He looks quite relaxed when he was found and drinking away at the water. he didn't seem anxious or scared that he wasn't around other people. And sometimes autistic people can be very comfortable in their own self. So he didn't seem to be looking or searching for other people. Not to say that he's not missing them, but he was quite relaxed. And other things, he might have been less responsive to pain and temperature. And often autistic people can be undersensitive to pain. And I know he had bites and things on him, and he seemed to be in quite good spirits. So a remarkable story, certainly.
Just incredible. What are some of the unique challenges, do you think, if you are searching for a child with autism?
Well, autistic kids are much more likely to wander off than any other children. So searching for them becomes a challenge because he was found in close proximity, and I guess people were calling out of his name. But sometimes autistic people are not responsive to their name. He might have he might have seen the helicopter. Maybe a typically developing child might have been alerted to the fact that people were looking for him and come out and waved. He seemed to be indifferent to the fact that of the fuss that he was creating, and that may have been part of his resilience.
What about when searchers finally found AJ? We saw those pictures of him drinking the water from the creek. Would they have had to approach him in a certain way, not to scare him?
Yes, it's really important that people understand autism when they're searching for him. So there's been cases before where first responders have been alerted to the particular characteristics of that child. So like playing music or taking their favourite toy to making sure that the child isn't frightened and then try and run away or triggered by the fact of all the attention and the noise that the first responders might be making.
So as we've heard from Rob, police are still trying to figure out exactly what happened to AJ over the past sort of 4 days. He is non-verbal. Is there any other way police can communicate with him, like getting him to draw what happened, to try and understand what's happened over the past few days?
Yeah, look, there's all sorts of ways that you can communicate with non-verbal autistic children. He might have quite good receptive language, so he might be able to point and show and follow. So there might be some ways of getting information out of him, but I guess the most important point is you don't want to traumatise him anymore. So, it might just be best to not push him too hard at this point.
What we saw those parents go through is just awful. What advice would you give for parents in these situations?
Look, I think it's a really interesting question because we know that about 70% of childhood accidents among autistic people are from wandering away. And I guess we can look now and learn from this as well, and not to cast blame because they're vulnerable to running away, but to identify why they might run away. Often they might go seeking their interests, like might be water or trains, and try and find, I guess, the root cause of what's happening. But prevention's better than cure. So being aware of the triggers, swimming lessons, because often it results in accidental drowning. So I was terrified when I saw that there was dams on the property. Even stop signs around the place to prevent the child knowing this is where I can't go. Educating the child as well. Even tracking technology is something that could be used, and secure locks and fencing around the home, because wandering is a big problem for autistic people.
Well, a remarkable and miraculous result tonight. Well, thank you so much, Robin Young, for your expertise. Looking at tonight's other top stories, our new COVID modelling has given us a clearer picture of what New South Wales healthcare workers are in for. Cases should peak next week, reaching up to 2,000 a day. The pressure on ICU beds will triple in early to mid-October, with up to 560 COVID patients needing critical medical care. Officials say the system has the capacity to cope with the surge. It's looking likely restrictions will be eased early for all Victorians, with the state rocketing towards that 70% first dose target 4 days ahead of schedule. Year 12 students are being prioritised for vaccine bookings to have them back at school in time for their final exams. Brisbane will probably avoid a snap lockdown. Authorities say a cluster linked to an infected truck driver appears contained. There are no new cases on top of the truckie's colleague and her daughter. Testing on all the child's close contacts at a daycare centre turned up negative results. Let's take a look at our vaccine tally. Australians have received just under 21 million doses of the COVID vaccine. 63% of us have now had our first jab. 38% are double dosed. 70% will be fully vaccinated within 56 days by the 1st of November. 80% of Australians will be fully vaccinated in 74 days by the 19th of November. Thank you for your company. I'll be back with every development throughout the evening on the latest from 7 News at 11:30. See you then.